It's 4:30 a.m. on East Ferry Street. The roads are nearly empty on this early Friday morning, but Detroiter Melody Williams is up and waiting for the paratransit van to arrive. Getting up this early is just part of her weekday routine. Today, she's using it to get to her dialysis treatment.
On Mondays, I do dialysis. So I get a one-way trip. My day starts at 3 o'clock in the morning, and my ride is from 4:30 to 5. Around about 10 o'clock, I'm off the machine, and then my family members come and pick me up, and then I go to work. And then in the afternoon, I get off about 2:30, so I have another ride scheduled for MetroLift. That's on Monday. And on Tuesday from 9, I go to work, and Wednesday back to dialysis. Thursday, work again. And then on Fridays, I do dialysis.
The van picks up and drops off other passengers on the way to Williams' treatment. Like many people using the service, Williams is visually impaired.
It's considered as legally blind, so I have vision, but not clarity. It's like if you put a Ziploc bag to your eye, that's what I see.
Williams has been legally blind since 2010. She spent 10 months in Kalamazoo learning to navigate life without full vision. That included learning how to catch the bus now that she couldn't drive herself.
When I came back to Detroit, I wanted to continue that, so I wouldn't be stuck in the house and dependent on my girlfriends or my aunt or my sons or my friends, different people, my neighbor, to take me backwards and forth. I signed up for MetroLift.
MetroLift is Detroit's paratransit service, a transportation option specifically for people living with disabilities or other mobility challenges. Williams has been using the service since 2017. How do you make the decision to schedule or get a ride from someone else?
When I do dialysis on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, when I get off that machine about 10 o'clock, I'll be extremely sick and weak. So therefore, if I take MetroLift, it's no telling when I might get home and how I'm going to make it. So therefore, my family members will come and pick me up on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Everybody got a certain day.
In November, City Council voted against a new contract for Transdev, the company that operated the paratransit service. Riders who used the service often complain about how unreliable the company was. Williams said drivers would leave passengers in the wrong locations, pick them up late, and sometimes not pick them up at all.
It's sometimes frustrating, but we don't have no other choice. How we going to get to the doctors? How we going to get to the grocery store? How we going to get to our treatments, cancer patients and stuff? They use MetroLift as well. They be on scooters. It's horrible.
Detroit's paratransit service could look very different by summer, however. At the Detroit Department of Transportation office, we sat down with Mikkel Oglesby. He's the executive director of transit for the city. At the end of last year, obviously, there was a little bit of a debate about if there should be a contract extension or approval for Transdev. A lot of folks in the ADA community weren't fans of them. Could you briefly describe just kind of how that resolved itself from when the contract was rejected to where we are now?
Sure, it's pretty straightforward. We put out an RFP, a request for proposal for service. There were 2 providers that responded. One was Peoples and one was Transdev. The end result was that the 30% Peoples Express were approved and the other 70% was not.
In December, Mayor Mike Duggan used his emergency powers to make a temporary fix to the problem.
I was really excited that he gave us the tools to do our job, and that was to move forward with additional providers to be able to fill that gap.
The city started seeking out new bids for the long-term contract last month. Now that DDOT runs the entire system, what sort of changes have you noticed as the person in charge of running the system, and what have you been hearing from the people who use the paratransit system?
Well, I will tell you, we took it over the beginning of the year, and the response has been like night and day. They like the customer service. We're providing professional service. We are handling complaints expeditiously, and the overall general response is very positive.
But what do people who rely on the system, like Williams, say about the new companies providing service? And how does she compare it to Transdev? You rode with People's Express today. If you could rate them out of 10, what would you rate People's Express? And then what would you rate Transdev out of 10?
Okay, people, they always got good drivers. And therefore, one thing I like about Peoples now, they have cars. So therefore, a lot of seniors that cannot get up in those high vans can get in a lower car. So I say they service for now, I give them about an 8, 8.5.
Okay, that's pretty good. And what about Transdev?
0.
And as for the long-term solution,
6 months from now, what do you want to see happen? What would you like to see DDOT do?
I would like them to be consistent with our drivers, consistent, a clean van. Take care of your seniors. Get out of the car and help them when you know they're handicapped and they barely can get in. Definitely be on time. I know sometimes it's hard to do that because when you're working with a large city, it's more than one client. It's over 1,000 rides a day.
the Department of Justice is now looking to ensure the city isn't violating the Americans with Disabilities Act by failing disabled passengers.
So I understand it's hard, but they need a better system, a much better system than what we have now.